Good day, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Norma Moyo, and I'll be going through your Supply Chain 202 with you, your online presentation. I'm going through your online presentation on Supply Chain 202. I will fast track because I know today you are eager about your assignments. I'll fast track in that I'll only be taking what will be important in your assignment. First chapter is Introduction to Business Logistics, and then this structure of the assignment is taken from the 8 first chapters, and question 1 is derived from chapter 1, 5th objective in the guide, and again 1.12 is last objective in the guide, 1.2 from the provided article through the global lens and looking at looking at South Africa's transport arteries. Question 2 derived from chapter 3 of the learner guide. So we have we have 1, 2, 3, and then we have chapter 4, which is mostly from chapter 7. So let's look at what we have in chapter 1 that you need to look at. It gives the background of business logistics. We know because of the spatial and temporal separation between location of natural resources for production, there is need for logistics. Your question says, from your student guides, define and discuss the business logistics and its activities. Logistics management is that part of supply chain management that plans, implements, and controls the efficient, effective forward and reverse flow and storage of goods, services, related information between the point of origin and the point of consumption in order to meet customer requirements. Logistics management is performance required to move and position inventory throughout the supply chain. Supply chain, sometimes referred to as the value chain. Creating value by timing and positioning goods. Integrating function that links, coordinates, and optimizes the entire value chain as a continuous process. That was supply chain and logistics. We note that it also talks about the business logistics activities. Your business logistics activities, if you go to page 14 of your learner guide, you find some there. It would help you to answer this. I'm not saying those are, but it would help you. Business logistics activities are the flow of goods, services, and information between the point of origin and point of consumption or application. It involves the following activities: demand forecasting, supply selection and facility design, procurement, materials handling, packaging, warehouse management, inventory management, order processing, logistics communications, transport, reverse logistics, customer service. Then we come to chapter 2, value created by business logistics. We have from your chapter 2 where they talk about the values that are there. So let's talk about the logistics strategic call. They asked you on 2.11, what is logistics? We've talked about what logistics is. It's a subset of the supply chain, and logistics creates competitive advantage. We looked at competitive advantage created by logistics, those that were there in the first webinar. I went through this with them, but I will, however, rush through it so that as a revision, those that were not there can catch up. So we are saying competitive advantage created by logistics, logistics linkages with the value chain, value-added role of logistics, customer service, aspects of competitive advantage, wealth created through logistics. Then the logistics strategic goal and objectives. Logistics strategic goal endeavors to increase the wealth of all members in the supply chain by achieving logistical objectives. That's the goal. Logistics management is that part of supply chain management that plans, implements, and controls the efficient, effective forward and reverse flow and storage of goods, services, and related information between the point of origin and the point of consumption in order to meet customers' requirements. What is point of origin? It is where point of origin of supply chain occurs where no primary suppliers exist. Point of consumption is where no further value is added to the product and it is consumed or used without serving as an input to another supply chain. When we talk about the flow of goods, which goods are we talking about? Raw materials, semi-finished goods, finished goods, waste material, and returned goods. Then the value-added role of logistics. We note that there is a question that talks about the value-added role, the required to. The value-added role of logistics is form utility, place utility, time utility, possession utility. All these four utilities created in the supply chain process, the place and time utility is created by logistics. What is consumer surplus? Consumer surplus is consumers' willingness to pay a certain price, reflects the monetary value placed by them on that product. The surplus is the difference between what customers are willing to pay and the price that they actually pay. Pringles chips entered into a market at a price well below the customers, but well below what the customers were willing to pay. Later, the price was inflated to close the surplus. Perceptions of value. Please get to know the perceptions of value. We have different perceptions of value, and Zeitmel, 1998, identifies 4 of them. The low price associated with the bad quality of a product, whatever demanders want is in a product is in a quantitative sense. Okay, so let me go through the 4 different perceptions. The first one is a low price is associated with a bad quality product. That's a perception. Whatever demanders want in a product, in a quantitative sense, people regard that as a value. Quality that demanders get for the price they pay. That's what people perceive as value. Demanders get what they give in terms of price. I said we did this, but just looking at what is going to be critical. In chapter 3, we also had something that we needed to. Chapter 3 talks about strategic logistics management. Logistics is the detailed management of an organization's operations. Successful strategic logistical management requires the effective use of resources to accomplish company goals and carry out company actions in the most efficient manner. So let's see, what does logistics do? What does strategic logistics does? Reducing costs is a long-term goal for a logistics company. Reducing the cost to transport and warehouse materials increases the profit the company earns from every client. For example, energy costs are one area of logistics that adds to the cost of each shipment. The goal of logistics, I think they ask you about the goal of logistics and the objectives. The goal of logistics is to get things from point A to B in a timely, efficient, cost-effective manner. The goal of logistics is to allow a company to be more efficient and effective. And the objectives of logistics would be to make available the right quantity of right quality products at the right place and time in the right condition, to offer best service to customers, to reduce the cost of operations, to maintain transparency in operations. We have just covered what was needed on strategy. I said I'm just linking what I think would be the best for you. Then we have what we call barriers to the development and implementation of a supply chain strategy. What is a supply chain strategy? Remember, strategy is a plan that you want to put in action. It's a game plan. So we note that there are barriers sometimes when you put up a strategy. There are barriers to the development and implementation of the supply chain management strategy. This might help you in answering one of the questions that talks about the limitations, or that talks about why strategic plans fail. The barriers to the development and implementation of supply chain management strategy are lack of top management commitment, incompatible corporate cultures, regulatory and political considerations, reluctance to share or use relevant data, incompatible information systems. Then we have the reasons why strategic plans fail. Ladies and gentlemen, note that this is an assignment. You are not only sticking to your book. Revisit the other editions that have been there and go to the library and get more information on reasons why strategic plans fail. Strategic plans fail because of the failure to define objectives correctly, lack of focus, overestimation of resource competence, failure to coordinate, failure to obtain senior management commitment, failure to obtain employee commitment, underestimation of time requirements, failure to follow the plan, failure to manage change, poor communications. Then, in conclusion, logistics has evolved to a fully fledged discipline that is a key enabler to globalized economy. Within supply chain management, experience has shown that a one-size-fits-all approach does not yield optimal results. The adage that employees are our biggest asset is flawed. Employees are our only asset. Manager. That was chapter 3. Now I'm coming to chapter 4, tactical logistics management and supply chain integration. What are the tactical activities? Tactical logistics activities is buying, making, moving, storing, selling. Tactical logistical activities. The main tactical management objectives in supply chain. The tactical are minimizing time to convert orders into cash, minimizing the total work in progress in the supply chain, improving pipeline visibility, improving visibility of demand by each partner, improving quality, reducing costs, improving services. What does MPS stand for? It stands for Master Production Schedule, MRP, Materials Requirement Planning. We have what we call production supply processes, with a push-based supply chain, where the onus is with manufacturer to manufacture goods and push them down. Pull-based is demanded. Pull and push-based, those processes are together. All of them are push and pull Sometimes it is by the demand by the consumer, or sometimes it's a push strategy. I'm not going to go through this because I'm looking at assignment and your 10 chapters. Then let's come to chapter 5. Chapter 5, I didn't see. I saw in chapter 5, identify and describe the main value drivers of free cash flow. I believe we've done 1 and 2. Then we have, as part of value drivers, expenses can be divided into primary and secondary activities. Identify the primary activities. Then 3.3, describe the impact of the 5 aspects in the article on the expenses mentioned. We are going to look at the introduction to financial management decision making. Shareholder value, cost of equity, free cash flow, economic value added, sometimes referred to as EVA, and the value drivers and return on investment. What is shareholder value? Shareholder value is determined by the market value of the company's shares. Management can increase the market value by either increasing and expediting the projected free cash flow of the company, can increase it by reducing the risk of the company, thereby reducing the cost of equity. What is cost of equity? Cost of equity is the amount that you use for the capital that you have. We are going to look at the risk-free rate. Risk-free rate is equated to a bond because at that, a bond has the minimum risk. Market risk premium is the difference between the return in the market and the risk-free. The beta factor measures the volatility. And then we can calculate our cost of equity by a capital asset pricing model, which is cost of equity will be the risk-free plus the beta value beta times the market risk premium. Free cash flow. What is free cash flow? Free cash flow calculation is the net operating profit after tax plus non-cash adjustments. What are non-cash adjustments? Like depreciation. So we say free cash flow calculation is the net operating profit after tax plus the non-cash adjustments of cash flow, less investments in property, plant and equipment. To increase the free cash flow, an organization needs to achieve all or some of the following. Increase profit as more cash will flow into the organization when more products are sold or costs reduced. A decrease of investment in working capital as it will free up cash normally used every month. A decrease in investments of property, plant and equipment as less money will be spent. Free cash flow from operating activities actually available for distribution to shareholders. To increase free cash flow, management needs to increase the profit after tax, decrease the investment in working capital, decrease the investment in property, plant, and equipment. Economic value added is net operating profit after tax less cost of capital. What are the value drivers? Value drivers are revenue. The higher the revenue, the higher the value. Operating cost reduction will also lead to profits that will add to tax. So that will add to value, that will add to profits. Then tax, if taxes can be less, then wealth will be created. And then again, utilization of property, plant and equipment, these are non-current assets. So that's a value driver if it's utilized to its maximum. that has helped you to answer some of the questions that we have there. Now we're going to chapter 6. Chapter 6 is forecasting. Chapter 6 talks about forecasting. It is difficult to accurately forecast. Forecasts for groups of items are often more accurate than forecasting demand for a single item. Forecasts for a shorter time period are usually more accurate than forecasting for longer time periods or time horizon. What happened in the past can be used as an important guideline when making forecasts. Types of forecasting. We have the quantitative forecasting modes and we have the qualitative forecasting models. What is quantitative forecasting model? If we look at 4.1, there is a question on forecasting. Quantitative forecasting models is where quantitative information can be collected from past years as a pattern should be able to be identified, which can be continued into the future. The quantitative forecasting models are time series and explanatory models. A time series is a time-ordered sequence of observations taken at regular intervals, e.g. daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, or annual. Then we have explanatory models. These are the regression models. They rely on the identification or related variables that can be used to predict values of the variable of interest. A mathematical relationship is developed between demand, for example, and some other factors that cause demand behavior. And then we just finished quantitative. What about qualitative forecasting techniques? Qualitative forecasting techniques are appropriate when little or no quantitative information is available, but sufficient qualitative knowledge exists. It is usually a product of judgment and accumulated knowledge. Types of forecasting, that is qualitative forecasting techniques. There are 4 techniques on qualitative forecasting. We have the Delphi method, we have the jury of executive option, we have the sales force composite, we have the consumer market survey. 4 techniques that are qualitative. Delphi method, jury of executive option, sales force composite, consumer market survey. What is the Delphi method? This takes advantage of the wisdom and insight of a panel of people who have considerable expertise about a particular product or demand. It also utilizes participant anonymity. The experts, that might be 5 or 7 in number, do not know who the panel members are, and they never meet to discuss their views. Jury of executive. The judgment of experts with years of experience may be useful in the forecasting process. A forecast is developed by combining the subjective opinion of managers and executives. Then sales force composite. Each salesperson makes an estimated forecast of sales in his or her region, and these forecasts are reviewed to ensure that they are realistic and then combined at a regional or national level to reach an overall forecast. Then we also have what is called a consumer market survey. Input by using surveying techniques from customers or potential customers is analyzed to establish their future plans. So we have gone through the quantitative and qualitative techniques. There is a lot in this chapter that is calculated, but you have to go through the chapter and your learner guide. And I have covered from this chapter what was required in your assignment. Chapter 7 is customer service. 4.2, describe customer service as an element of the marketing mix. We know what the marketing mix is. There used to be 4 P's. Now there are 7 P's. Customer service. Consistently providing customers with the desired quality and quantity of products where and when they are needed and at acceptable prices can gain market share advantage over its competitors. When you give good customer service, it's easy to gain market share over your competitors. An integrated series of activities between a supplier and a buyer that enhance the sale and facilitate the effective use of the supplier's products is required for customer service. Customer service includes a variety of activities, including after-sale servicing, such as maintenance, repair and replacement services, extended warranties, regular mailing of information, and free call telephone services in the case of inquiries and complaints. Customer service is the entire process of customer order fulfillment. The process includes the receipt of the order, managing the payment, collecting and packing the goods, shipping and delivering the consignment, providing after-sale service for the end user, and handling the possible return of the goods, which is reverse logistics. I want to look at it as part of the customer service as an element of the marketing mix. We have 4 P's: price, product, promotion, and place, plus the other 3 P's that are people, which are employees, processes, which are the buying experience of customers, and physical and environment, the physical aspects with which customers come into contact. Let's look at, if you look at your 7.1, it shows how this is, it shows logistics customer service is a component of the place, process, and people elements of the marketing mix. For instance, we look at the 7 P's: product, physical, process. We know that there's on processes the pre-transaction, transaction, and post-transaction, and on place we are looking at warehousing, we are looking at inventory costs, we are looking at administration costs, order processing, and then people, we are looking at employees engaged. Promotion again has to do with customer service. The price again has to do with customer service. Product itself has to do with customer service. Physical evidence has to do with customer service. Processes have to do, I explained the processes, have to do with customer service. All those, the pre-transaction, transaction, post-transaction, inventory, administration, all those have to do with customer service. So that's how it is related to the marketing mix. That was 4.2. Then, ladies and gentlemen, we look at our next chapter. There is a lot on customer service that we covered last week, sorry, 2 weeks ago. Chapter 8 has to do with production and operations management. What is operations management? Operations management is the decisions made about the operations function and the management of the transformation process to ensure that value is provided to the customer at a cost that will ensure a profit to the company's shareholders. 4 types of decisions: process, quality, capacity, and inventory. Those are the decisions in operations management. Let's look at the operations and transformation processes. We have the supplier, bringing the raw materials and information, and then what will the inputs be? Labor, capital, facilities, etc. Then there's a transformation process. Then after the transformation process, out to outbound logistics, which is our outputs, which is products and services to the customer. So the core management processes are planning, sourcing, making, delivering, and returning. These get to be conversant with the SCORE model. We covered this, we talked about the different decisions that will be there. Two types of strategy decisions are structural decisions that will be about the facilities, their capacity, process technology, and supply network. Then we have infrastructural decisions, which are planning and control, quality, human resources, new product development, and performance measures. Then we have what we call 5 positioning decisions lead to operations objectivity. Which are these? Quality, doing things right. Speed, doing things fast. Dependability, doing things on time. Flexibility, changing what to do. Cost, doing things cheap. Excelling in one or more of these performance objectives is critical to obtain a competitive advantage. Excelling at most of these objectives is costly and does not provide competitive advantage in all industries. Then, capacity planning can be broadly defined as, in the context of capacity planning, capacity is the maximum amount of work that an organization is capable of completing in a given period of time. That is by the Supply Chain Management, North Carolina State. Then we have different strategies. Lead strategies is when you are planning in advance for capacity. Lag, you only react to capacity increase. Match, you try and match the strategies. You match as the demand goes up, you also increase your capacity. I'm not going to talk about this because I've already explained them. That was the end. That was the end of your assignment. So maybe just because SCM202 is long, I'll go through chapter 9 as well, because when we meet, it should be from chapter maybe 11 onwards, when we meet for our next. It's more to do with procurement. What is procurement? Chapter 9 is on procurement management. Procurement, the objectives of procurement management are to improve competitive position, provide an uninterrupted flow of goods and services, minimize inventory investments and loss of revenue, maintain and improve quality, find, develop best suppliers, standardize where appropriate inputs, aim for total cost of procurement, achieve cooperative productive internal relationships, accomplish procurement objectives efficiently. There are 5 principal steps of procurement management. Step 1 is you identify a procurement need. Step 2 is supplier survey. Step 3, investigation and assessment of suppliers. Step 4 is choice of suppliers. Step 5 is establishing relationships with suppliers and controlling their performance. Steps 2, 3, and 4 collectively form what is called the supplier selection phase. Then the strategic role of procurement within a business. It is to access to external markets, intra-firm management relations. There are tiers in the procurement management. We have strategic procurement, tactical procurement, and operational procurement. The strategic procurement management is the long-term planning for procurement. and it ensures availability of inputs needed for successful ongoing business. It ensures best business location, decides on size and shape of procurement organizations. It lays down procedures for specification of needs. It selects suppliers and develops long-standing relationships with them. Then the tactical management, which is medium-term planning, conducts ongoing logistical analysis, conduct informant networking, study available inventory control systems, evaluate materials flow systems, and implement best ones, administer requisitions and bills of materials, advise top management on contracts, develop current and new suppliers. Those were that was tactical procurement management. Operational. This is short-term planning, execution, monitoring, and control of procurement operations. It conducts the operational management, conduct inventory analysis and stock taking, reduces inventories through scheduling, maintain and improve relationships with suppliers, assist suppliers by supplying technical and administrative support, then communicates operations schedule with suppliers in order on time, pays supplier invoices on time, adhere to suppliers' contract clauses, coordinate incoming traffic. Then let's look at the nature and classification of purchased products. Products are divided into goods and services. Goods comprise raw materials, semi-finished goods, finished goods, which consist of final goods, which is consumer goods, intermediate goods, which is producer goods, and when we talk about services, we are talking about intangibles. So services are intangibles, they are an inventories, cannot separate the service from the service provider. Then quality of physical products will be by performance, reliability, durability, conformance, features, aesthetics, and serviceability. Then when we talk service quality, we are talking about suitability, accessibility, that is market area coverage, security, lead times, reliability, flexibility. Then I think, how do we look at identifying, specifying a procurement need? How do you specify a procurement need? These comprise 4 methods, and simple methods, and 5 complex methods. The simple methods is you specify your need by brand equivalent, market grades, and sample. Complicated, it can be by commercial standards, by performance, by engineering drawing, by physical design, by materials and method of manufacture. Then please get to know those. The specifications on how you specify a need. How do you say you have a need? Then we have selection and development of suppliers. The supplier selection process is the second and third for the steps in the procurement process. There is a supplier survey where you are looking at who potential suppliers are. Then supplier investigation and assessment. Then supplier choice. Supplier survey you can get from which will be the sources that you get your information from. It will be trade journals, trade registers and directories, internet, telephone, suppliers, sales personnel and field representatives, suppliers catalogs, price lists, mail promotions and advertisements, trade shows and exhibitions. Then investigation. You investigate on specific production capability and their corporate standing. Then specific logistical supply capability. Those will be the supplier investigation and assessment. You use those to assess and you investigate and assess. There is a lot on laws that you have to read. Then when it comes to your supplier choice, during the choice phase, talks are commonly held with potential or shortlisted suppliers. Businesses often decide to purchase similar items from more than one supplier to ensure availability, acceptable prices, and required volumes. Then you establish relationships with these suppliers. Remember, you are aiming at having long-term relationships. An organization's desire to satisfy the needs of its customers and to provide continuous improvement in its customer service is dependent on the suppliers to help accomplish these goals. Research indicates that the two most commonly used measures in supplier performance measurement systems are customer service received and quality of service provided. So, I think that will be the end of our presentation. And I'm sure I've covered almost everything. I looked at qualitative and quantitative forecasting, customer services, an element of the marketing mix, define the term operations management. That should be the end of our presentation. I hope this has created value, especially to your assignment. Please, the fact that I was going through, it was because of the constraints of time. Remember that in your supply chain 202, you have 21 topics that you have to cover. We have already covered 9. So which means we still have more for our next presentation. Please read everything, but be guided by your learner outcomes in your study guide. I hope this will be of value to you. Good luck in your assignment. I expect distinctions from everybody who has participated in this online tutorial.